So what we're going to take a look at now is a little bit of what I like to call an actions FAQ. So what exactly is an action and exactly how do they work? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close up this default action set here, and I'm going to just click on this set 1 right here. And so what you want to do when you're working with actions is record tasks that you use repetitively here inside of Photoshop. So for the time being, we're not actually going to be recording a specific task. I'm just going to record a few steps here just to show you exactly what gets recorded by actions and what does not get recorded by actions, so you have a little bit better understanding of what you can and can't do when working with actions here. So I'm not going to worry about any of these options right here. I'm just going to create a new action really quick, and don't worry about the steps for this because we're going to show you exactly how to build your own action in an upcoming lesson. Now I'm officially recording my action right now, so let me move this just out of the way so that we can just work here. I'm going to dock this to the side right here, and we are going to also move my options bar out of the way so that we can close this up here. So we'll just close these up really quick like so. And what we're going to do is we are going to record some steps, which it is recording right now, whether you know it or not, but it's not time sensitive, so don't worry about the speed at which you do anything inside of here. For instance, I'm going to duplicate my layer using Command or Control J on my keyboard, and if I bring back up my actions panel here, you're going to see here that it said that I created this new layer via copy. Now, it didn't say duplicate the layer. That's just Photoshop's wording is layer via copy, but you don't have to worry about that. Just Command or Control J, duplicate your layer. I'll keep this on screen for now just so you can see exactly what gets recorded and what does not. For instance, if I were to desaturate this layer using Shift Command U or Shift Control U, it would automatically say desaturate right there inside of the layers panel. But one of the things you need to be aware of, let's say I move this layer. Let's say I just move it over to the left, like so. You notice when I do that, the actions panel records nothing. Well, it actually only seems to record nothing because it's actually recorded that movement, but it's waiting for me to finish that movement with another command. So it's actually still recording as if I was still moving. So it needs something to tell it that I'm done moving it. For instance, what I can do now is I can add, let's say, a hue and saturation adjustment layer to this. So I'll just go ahead and add hue and saturation adjustment layer, click colorize, and we'll just add some kind of interesting tone to this, and we'll click OK. Now notice here it has now recorded the move current layer and also added the make adjustment layer. So when you're recording actions, if you notice that it does not record a specific step, then you need to go ahead and finish off that step with another command, and then the actions panel will go ahead and follow suit and show you that movement. Now, one thing I do need to tell you is that when you're moving things around, if I twirl this open right here, it shows you where it moved it to, which is negative 284 pixels, which means I just moved that negative 284 pixels to the left. That's because over here on the left-hand side, it reads the left-hand side of this image as 0, and the top of this image is 0 as well. That's why it says negative 284 and 0. So, for instance, if you wanted to do this on another image, let's say you wanted to replicate this on another image, it would only move that specific layer to the left 284 pixels. It doesn't care about the relationship between these two images here. It's working on a basis of pixels, which goes from the top and the left. So if you're making selections, this is especially true. So let me show you here. If I make a selection in this image here, we'll go ahead and make a selection just around her, like so. As you see here, it says set selection as I expand this here, but it'll say to a rectangle. But it's also going to tell you that from the top, it's 18 pixels, from the left, it's 19 pixels, from the bottom, 368, and the right, 389. Well, what this is going to mean is, no matter what, it's always going to create that specific selection. So if you wanted to replicate this on an image that was not exactly the same width, height, and aspect ratio of this specific image that you're using here, then this selection would actually be very far off to the left and up towards the top. So you're not going to get the continuity of the position of the selection. You're only going to get the exact dimensions of that selection and a relative position to where it's located on the image. So you need to pay attention to that as well. So selections are probably a bad thing to do when using actions, simply because of the fact that you have to use the same size and aspect ratio image for it to work exactly the same every time. Just be sure that you're aware of that as you're using selections when recording actions. Now, another thing that's going to be a little bit tricky when you're working with actions is the positioning of objects. For instance, if you wanted to center something aligned with this background layer, let's say I want to take layer 1 here and I want to line it back up with that background layer, I'll select these in the layers panel simply by shift clicking on both of those. If I come up here and I choose the move tool, you'll notice in the options bar I get the option to align these images. So for instance, if I wanted to line them horizontally and align them vertically like so, you're going to see that it does record those right there using those small little icons at the top. However, if you were to go underneath and align them with the layer commands, layer align, vertical centers, layer align, horizontal centers, it would not record those specific commands into this panel over here. So you need to be aware of that as you're going through here, simply because the most obvious way to do something, which is the layer align commands, which is where a lot of people go, because a lot of people don't realize that these little alignment buttons are right here. They'll go to the layer menu, and that's not going to get recorded. So you've got to be sure that you use only the commands that can be recorded. So my suggestion is to go through here and play around recording your own simple kind of play action where you're not actually recording anything, but you're just going through here and testing and seeing exactly what Photoshop can do and what it cannot do as far as recording steps here inside of an action. Now, you also need to be careful as far as undos and as far as trashing layers and things like that, because of the fact that it's going to, let's say I want to throw this layer away here. If I come down here and I throw that layer away, click yes to say delete that layer, it's going to say delete current layer, which means it's not specific to only that layer that I just deleted. For instance, if I played this back on this image now, it would go ahead and it would delete the background layer. Well, we wouldn't want it to do that. We wanted to get rid of that extra layer that we had before. So you need to be aware of all those different kinds of commands, because no matter what, all of those different things get recorded, and that's stuff that you need to be aware of here inside of the Actions panel. So in this next lesson that we're getting ready to start here, I'll actually show you what an action looks like while it's playing, so that you can see how all of these steps flow and how you can utilize these actions to really start to work better in Photoshop.